Good evening, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of From Idea to Impact, our newest show on another web entrepreneur network. For tonight's episode, episode 2, I brought in none other than Caleb Harris, CEO and founder of Choosing Your Freedom. First of all, I thank you for taking the time out to be the second guest on our show. Tell everybody about yourself and tell us before we get into our question and answer.
Yeah, man. So basically, my story is very simple. As was already said before, I'm Caleb Harris. I live in East Hartford, Connecticut right now. CEO of Choosing Your Freedom. I help out men with porn and sexual addiction. I'm also a mindset and life and recovery coach as well. So basically, I just help out men to recover from one, sexual sin, but two, just a lot of bad hurts, a lot of bad hangups. Also, I write and I coach and I speak as well. So those are the things that I do that keeps me busy and helps me just to keep moving forward in life.
Perfect, perfect. So as you heard from, so this is our in-depth deep dive. And again, with this show, my goal is to bring on different entrepreneurs to talk about their journey and their plans to make an impact in the world. So when you see Caleb Harris later on, a couple of years, maybe even this year, you'll know that hey, you saw him here first. So my first question is, what inspired you to start choosing your freedom?
So what inspired me to start choosing your freedom is that I just saw so many like Christian men that I was around that were struggling with sexual addiction over and over again. It just seemed as if they were either not going to the right places, either didn't believe in God, or just they had a belief in God, but because of the addiction, they had these wrong dictatorship views of who God was. And when I mean that, I mean that they seemed that God was just this evil dictator that hated everything that they did, everything that they saw, and just wasn't peaceful, loving, and caring like it says in the Bible. But the truth is this is that God is loving and he's caring and he does care about his people. So what I decided to do is I decided to start this. And also from that age demographic of 18 through 34, the men that I work with is usually around that age demographic. I realized that so many men around there are just stressed, they're bored, and they're lonely. A good majority of them don't have their fathers or any kind of father figure or male role models or anything like that as well. And what I realized is that, this is a service that I want to provide to people. It wasn't just about making money or just trying to get rich or anything like that. It was all just about trying to help people out, trying to put God first in everything that I do. So basically, I started around last year, and I just kept on going forward, and then just been more of a blessing, man. Just trying to just help out other people. I've always been a caring person, very empathetic and patient with other individuals. So that's the reason why I wanted to start choosing your freedom.
Oh, amazing, amazing. So tell us a little bit about your personal journey. So how's your personal journey, things that you've gone through in your life, coach?
Yeah, so it's like a lot of things, just with me having a personal battle with addiction myself when I, had a battle with pornography and sexual addiction and drinking as well. I was always realizing that, man, it's just, am I the only one that's out there? Am I the only one that's going through all these things? And I just started realizing when I joined sober recovery around 2022 that I wasn't. It was around other men who are around my age, a little bit older, and things like that as well, and they were able to teach me a couple of things about like patience, understanding, letting go of the past, not being resentful towards people, choosing to forgive people who had done you wrong, and asking people for help, and apologizing for the things that you did, because there's just so many of us. We do so many things. We're going so fast all the time, but we're not actually just sitting down. And oftentimes, not even just being still. We're not just being still and just trying to understand why we do the certain things that we do. And also, just one more thing, I used to work with kids with autism. So, kids who had learning disabilities, I was able to be more patient and kind and understanding to their needs. And just understanding the more and more I talk to people, whether it's men or women or children, that everybody's going through something in life. And I just try to be patient and understanding towards that, because with everybody going through this thing called life, you just understand that it's best just to be understanding to people and their needs and their feelings and their emotions.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. I love the fact that you tied in working with kids with autism, and definitely, as an educator myself, that patience is key. So if you're able to apply that, especially when people are going through the different stages of recovery, I think that's an awesome and commendable feat that you're actually doing. My next question to you is, how do you integrate faith into the recovery approach? And what role does it play when helping men to overcome their addictions that they may have?
So when it comes to faith, as a man of God, I just always tell people like you have to have faith. I know there's a scripture that says to walk by faith and not by sight. And that's one of the main things that I tell people. I don't always try to like throw the Bible at everybody. I try to just use common sense and knowledge, especially since when I'm talking to men, that's really what a lot of men want. They look for like common sense and knowledge and like, okay, I do this, this is what's going to happen. Like, okay, yeah, that's it. I'm not going to just sit down here and just say the Bible says this, the Bible says that, this, that, and the third. That's not how I do my coaching. I basically just say, hey, look, listen, you have to have a faith in God. And most importantly, in order to make a more transformational journey here, what you need to understand is that you need to understand that God has your back no matter what. Developing that relationship with God includes some kind of prayer life, a meditation life, having a community of people, volunteering, and also just, being a part of a church. Because I realize a lot of guys, sometimes they just get selfish or they just get into their own heads and they
Mhm.
don't realize that, like, life is not all about you. Like, life is about people. Even with Jesus, like, he was this perfect man, but he had 12 disciples that was around him. And he
Mhm.
still communed with these people. He had Peter, James, and John as his three best men, and he told them everything that was going on in his life. So I told the men, it's like, look, listen, if Jesus had that, you got to have people in your life too that can help you out in life as well.
I think that definitely helps, especially with different people you're working with, because, like you said, especially those men or the different clients you have that are dealing with loneliness that you mentioned before. I think this is superb coaching that you're giving to them.
Mhm.
Moving on to the next question, can you share a success story from your business that highlights the impact of your faith-based recovery coaching on men's lives?
Oh man, I remember my first ever client, man. I was so nervous to coach him, but I just knew because I was talking to somebody else and I was like, hey, look, listen, can you just pray for me? Because I'm just nervous. I finally got my first client and I was going through a lot of anxiety and I was just praying to God and I was just telling myself, like, this is what God wants me to do. So I always told myself, I'm just going to submit to the will and I'm just going to do it. So it was my first client, and he was just going through a lot of stuff in life. And I was just wondering, like, wait a minute, this guy's like he's in the gym, he's got some
Mhm.
kind of a social life, he's got all these things going for him, but for some strange reason, he's struggling with this sexual addiction. So the more and more I talked to him, I started realizing that he just couldn't handle like the life pressures of stress. Also, another thing was that it was his dad and his mom. They had these crazy expectations of him, and it was really what we call in the addiction world childhood conditioning. So, in summary, childhood conditioning is you have these limited belief systems that your parents tell you that you have to be. And the Bible does say to honor your mother and honor thy father, but it also says you're supposed to follow the will of God. So it seemed like to him is that he had such an issue with just following what God wanted him to do and just getting more serious. He had the discipline there. It was all about him just getting more discipline. So I suggested, a church group, being in the gym consistently, doing some volunteer work. And honestly, he prayed more. He just followed the directions that I gave him, and he's still free to this day. And he's doing very
Oh,
well. I mean, he's a fitness coach right now. So,
okay, all
yeah,
right.
all glory to God. That's it.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Glad to hear that. Our first client is always a great story. Sometimes they can go up, sometimes it can go down, but for the most part, when you have that one or two clients that kind of stick out and you continuously seeing their success, is always a great thing to see.
Mhm.
Now, with your particular services, what's one or maybe a couple unique challenges that you face while you're continue to grow this business, choosing your freedom?
So I think one of the challenges I face is that, I often offer face-to-face coaching, but not too many men want to like take me up on that offer. So basically a lot of things I really do is just more online stuff. So online does get tricky. Some of the guys I've learned it's not 100% them. It could be something spiritual going on, it could be something personal going on where the guys they know like deep down inside, like I'm struggling with this addiction. And I never want to come across like, hey, look, listen, you need to do this today. You need to work with me. It's not about me at all. It's really just about what this God wants you to do with your life. And that's basically what I talk about on my page on a man named Caleb and also on my Facebook page as well. And one of the main challenges I think I always face is that, do I just push a little bit more? Or do I just lay back and let God handle it? And then it's
Mm.
just one of those things I just got to pray a little bit more on. So I think that would be one of the more challenging things that I face with this business.
So just as far as what approach to do with different clients. Now,
Right.
when you're meeting with new clients, is there some type of assessment that you do with them to kind of gauge how you should, act upon your coaching services with them, or do you just kind of get a feel for it?
So it's a combination of the two in the beginning, but now since I've been doing this now for like year two now, I decided just to have an assessment. So basically, with the guys I work with, one of the things that I have is like, look, listen, like I'm a faith-based coaching program. Like I do believe that God is the higher power. Again, I'm willing to work with you, even if you don't believe in God. But at the end of the day, it's like that's what I'm going to be talking about. So I understand some guys they don't believe in God, and that's okay with me.
Mm.
You can still stick around, you can still follow my page, but that's just what I stick in. That's what I believe in. So that's just one of the things I have. I stick around the 18 through 34 demographic, but all
Okay.
ages are welcome, and I don't really have an age requirement on that. And basically just be open to the coaching, be open to what I do, and that's really about it. If and also just the main rule is this, put what I say into practice. And if you're not
Okay.
going to put it into practice, then we don't have to keep wasting each other's time. We could try again another time, or maybe I'm just not the guy that you're looking for. And I learned that in education. You don't have to keep trying to help every single person.
It's
That's
true.
probably one of the main lessons that I learned. So, yeah.
I mean, it's always hard because you probably come across different clients that you see like, okay, if this person just kind of sticks with it, they could definitely see progress. But then it's also sometimes could be a little frustrating too. So I definitely could understand that balance that you're experiencing, when you go through that part.
Yeah.
But again, I'm hearing amazing things. I know certain personal connections with different people that have used your services. So I commend you. Again, this is a great service that you're offering with your business. Now, next question to you is how do you envision choosing your freedom making a broader impact in the world beyond helping just individual clients?
So basically, I want to start doing in the near future. When we want to start doing like more mindset coaching and more working on like personal development, going more into that, going more into like finances. I realize a lot of guys like one of the main issues why they get into any kind of addiction, whether it's a sex addiction, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, is really just because they have the wrong people around them. They just don't
Mm,
have the right
yeah.
network. They don't have the right people and when you don't have the right people in life, I've read a lot of books from guys like Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and Earl Nightingale, and then the list just goes on and on and on. And what I realize is that, when a man doesn't have the right sources around him, he will most likely become homeless very, very soon. That's the drawn conclusion that I've gathered, and that's something that obviously I don't want to see happen to any man, but that's what happens when men don't have the right people. So trying to do more online courses,
Okay.
looking to do more public speaking, just spreading the word really, and next 10 years, I plan on just having my own building. So not really too sure where I want to put it in, maybe in Connecticut, Florida, Atlanta. Really just going to keep praying on that one. But right now, just working more in the personal development area, just working on the more mental health slash personal development for men. And I believe that's really going to help out the men.
No, definitely. Because I mean, I've seen you. I know even like tonight, we talked prior to this that you have a live. You've really stepped up the promotion and marketing game for your business. And then, I've been in, jumped in, hopping a couple different lives, and the different comments that I see in there, you're definitely making an impact. So I think you're going to get there before 10 years, man. The way you're moving, like you're saying, your belief system, believing in God, I think you definitely will hit that mark before 10 years. So let's speak directly to the coaching. So what are some strategies? I don't want to have you give away too much, but what's a couple of strategies that you use to help men discover their God-given purpose and align it with their lives themselves?
Yeah, so one of the things I do is I just like I was saying a little bit earlier, like a non-negotiable for me is like if you're gonna be this man of God and we're working as men of God, like we got to get you having a prayer life. Like that's like a non-negotiable because I do believe that prayer does change things. Doesn't have to be anything long or extravagant or anything like that. It could just be 15 minutes a day, just something. Then you work your way up and do a little bit more also the Bible reading as well. Just one chapter a day, like one chapter a day. It ain't gonna hurt nobody. Just one chapter will be just fine. And also just, we have to visit the past. That's the thing that a lot of guys that kind of like, oh, I don't really want to visit that. It's like, we got to start somewhere, man. So I just tell the guys, it's going to be okay. Just relax, We start off talking about what happened in the past, and then we use cognitive behavioral therapy tips. So that's really just a very fancy terminology, just saying like, okay, we have the relapse that is right here in the middle. Right
Mhm.
here on the side, we have the stress, the boredom, the loneliness, which we like to call the triggers. And then
Okay.
we have right here on this side, it's really just how did this all happen? How did we all get here? So, like, example, Johnny was stressed out at work and then he relapsed to pornography. And now afterwards, he feels sluggish, lethargic, and
Mhm.
doesn't really have a whole lot of energy. So, we have to figure out what happened between that time and the day that it happened and the emotions and feelings leading up to it. So, that's been a very powerful technique.
So that's definitely a different way and a different approach. So what do
Yep.
you think with choosing your freedom? What makes your services different from traditional recovery programs?
I think what makes my services more different is because one of the things I see in a lot of recovery programs is that they don't offer like prayer nights. So what I decided to start doing is I decided to start offering a prayer night on every second Sunday at 7 p.m. Every coaching session that I have, it ends off with me praying for each and one of my clients. I also just have a broadcast channel. And one of the main things is that I'm a lot more active online.
Mm.
I'm active in person as well, but seeing that things are changing. That demographic from 18 through 34, like ever since COVID has happened, like a lot of things are changing. You have to definitely adapt to the times and do a lot more things online than you would actually like to do. So I think I'm a lot more active online, writing blogs, doing prayer nights, doing live streams on Mondays, and just tapping into like what men actually care about, what men actually think about as well, and really just tapping into manhood and masculinity topics, which not too many recovery programs actually do.
True, true, true. That's definitely I love that. I love that. So just thinking about, just the past in the conversation early in the conversation, you also mentioned that you're an author. So what connection are you making between the books that you have written and how does the books or the information that you put in the books, do you use that at all to help as far as with your coaching clients?
Yeah, I definitely do. Like there's books I wrote, like Out of Darkness, Escaping Pornography, things like that. Just books that really just help out the men, just with personal development. And one of the main things I use with these books is just doing an introspective look in yourself. Because there's going to be times where I won't be around. My main thing is I don't want everybody relying on me because
Mhm.
that it's not going to work. It's more to rely on God and have God to answer the questions that you're looking for. So the questions that I have in these books are more just for like journal prompts for the guys. It's
Mhm.
more journal prompts for everybody to answer in your spare time, similar to like what they do in Alcoholics Anonymous, but not the same exact thing. It answers things like when was the last time that you talked to God? That's one thing that I always ask. And another thing that I ask is what's on the agenda today? What's the to-do list? Have you been slipping in your behaviors? Have you been slipping into bad patterns? Have you been doing things that you haven't been necessarily want to be doing? And also, have you been lying to people? Have you not been holding yourself
Okay.
accountable? So things like that.
Accountability.
Just tap in a little bit more, and it's one of those things where it's just I've learned with men is that men will be very honest when no one else is around. So that's what the journal prompts are for. Because they'll tell me anything, but once we read over the questions and once we read over the answers, then you probably get two different answers. But that's the brain on addiction.
True, true. So before we wrap, one of my last questions is, what's your measure for success? So how do you measure success with your coaching program, with the clients? Are there any indicators or markers that you look for to realize or help you figure out, okay, this client has done everything right, they're in the right, they're comfortable, I'm able to now release from them, or as far as not particular release, but I'm allow them to let them go out and explore their own journeys.
So I look at just one word and one word only. It's just peace. This is obviously for me, it's not all about money. I mean, money is always going to be a factor, but that's always second. There's a man named Solomon, and Solomon he asked for wisdom in the Bible, and that's what I do. And there's another man that comes to mind. His name is Job, and he just followed God and did whatever he told him to do, and just tried to be righteous. So I take those two, I try to mix them together, and I just say All right, God, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to continue to ask you for wisdom and continue just to be righteous and help the guys to develop some kind of peace. Because I learned a lot of men don't have any peace. So
Mm,
they end up just working all day, like 12, 14 hours. And they just say, I just love my job. I just love what I do. It's like a lot of people love what they do, but like I'm still going to go on vacation next week. Like I love what
yeah.
I do, but I'm still going on vacation.
Gotta do it. You gotta do it. You got to do it,
You know?
especially in these times of social media. Everyone's like, run, 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 go, 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 grind,
Mhm.
grind, grind. But then it's like at the end of the day, you're gonna, you drive yourself to the ground. So,
Yeah.
vacationing and sometimes just even taking a walk, just different things they could do just to calm themselves is very essential. But this has been a great conversation with you, Caleb. Before we wrap, is there any advice that you have for any business owners or anyone struggling with addiction out there? That you can leave them with tonight.
Yeah, honestly, just don't try to go so fast all the time. Like it's okay to just stay still. It's okay to take breaks. I know personally myself, whenever I just get overwhelmed, I feel as if I'm not having a bad day. I try not to tell myself I'm having a bad day because sometimes it's just a bad moment. I'm reading this
Oh,
book called The Psychology of Winning. I forget who the author is on the top of my head, but it's really just about mindset shifting and just trying to focus more on like the positives and not focus so much on the negatives. Like maybe you had a sluggish day, maybe you didn't have such a great gym session. I mean, even today I didn't have a great gym session, but I look at it as this: I got it done. I didn't quit. I still finished the whole session. So you may have not gotten everything you need to get done today, but you still have tomorrow to get things done. So, it's all about shifting your perspective. The more and more you shift your perspective, and the more and more you don't listen to that inner critic inside your head beating yourself up all the time, you'll be all right. You'll be all right.
it's amazing advice. I mean, one by one, mindset is huge. I mean, a lot of people don't realize it. I think
Mhm.
when people actually do the focus and switch, when they're able to switch their mindset, it opens their mind up to endless opportunities for themselves. But Caleb, thank you for the great conversation on from idea to impact. Let the crowd know where can they find you.
Yeah, man. So it's very simple. You can find me on a man named Caleb on Instagram. It takes me to my website that was built by the host yourself. Shout him out. And it takes you to www.choosingyourfreedom.com. You could find my other page, which is Facebook, Caleb Harris author. But the best way to find all this is just to go on Instagram, a man named Caleb. You'll find everything you need. You want to book a coaching session, you want to check out my books, et cetera, et cetera. Or if you just want to just shoot me a DM about life, or you just want to have like a free little session, I often do free introductory sessions to talk
Okay.
about what your needs are, to go over, how my coaching is, just basic questions like that. So yeah, I would say that's how you could find me.
And men specifically, he is somebody you can lean on. So, never be afraid. I know there's plenty of guys going out there. It's not the persona or the male ego to be like, hey, I don't need any help. But feel free. This gentleman would definitely work with you to help you change your mindset, change your life, and ultimately change your future. So, with that being said, this has been another great episode. Caleb, I thank you for your time tonight. For those viewers, you can watch the playback exclusively in the Nothing But Web Entrepreneur Network. And that's our show.